Season is here, and Sports on Tap has you covered all season long with in-depth coverage and analysis. You won't want to miss our special football shows each Monday of the high school season from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Catch recaps of all the games, interviews with local players and coaches, and hear if your team is playing in the game of the week. For the best high school football coverage, turn to Sports on Tap. Every Monday from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network.
And welcome to Sports on Tap, live from Studio J. It's our Week 8 recap, and it's amazing that it's Week 8 already, but we've had some outstanding Game of the Week games we've been to, and not to mention our conference is putting up some points here in Week 8. Had some really, really good games, some that won on a Hail Mary, and others that came down to the final play of the game. So, Ed, Josh, welcome again.
Good to be here, Rob.
Sean's on location. I'm Rob Troutman.
He is on assignment, I believe, is the term we use for folks who are not here.
And we'd like to thank all of those who are turning into us rather than listening to that god-awful TBS pregame show before the Indians game. So we thank you very much for that as well.
Yeah, we're Sports on Tap, and this is our Ohio high school football coverage. We're going to cover the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban Leagues. We'll get into our Game of the Week from last week and where we'll be at this week coming up, and much, much more. But first, Josh, let's start in the Greater Cleveland Conference. Some great games from Week 8.
Yeah, Rob, thanks for that intro. We're going to open up Mentor against Strongsville. Now, one thing about this game, it seems as though the Mentor Cardinals are starting to find their groove just in time for their playoff run. They had a 48-26 victory over the Strongsville Mustangs. Mentor Cardinals improved to 4-4 on the year. They are 3-2 in the GCC. Strongsville still without a victory in conference. They are 0-5. They are 1-7 overall. And as I mentioned, it really is starting to seem like the Mentor Cardinals are finding their groove, especially Tadas Tatarunas and Manning Trubisky as they hook up for a big game. Especially Trubisky in this one, 9 receptions, 215 yards, and 3 TDs. Tatarunas had 388 passing yards. And this was pretty much all Mentor this game. For a bright spot for Strongsville, Johnny Major had a combined 280 yards of rushing and passing. Mentor did lead 28-10 at the half. Majority of the damage coming in the first half for the Cardinals as they once again go on to a 48-26 victory. Manning Trubisky is an MVP candidate this week for me in the GCC. The next game on the docket saw the Euclid Panthers with a 32-24 victory over the Brunswick Blue Devils. This was a very tough game as Euclid improved their record to 6-2 overall, 4-1 in the conference. Brunswick, as like Strongsville, still without a win in the GCC. They're 0-5. They are 1-7 overall. Now, this specific game is where the Brunswick Wishbone offense really played to their hands, keeping the Euclid offense off the field for majority of this game. Brunswick was actually leading with 9 minutes left in this game, 24-19. But it was TDs by, and I apologize if I say his name wrong, Kenyades Hollins Jr. and Daquan Pruitt both had touchdowns with just over 8 minutes left during the course of the game. Brunswick did get the ball back with just over 2 minutes left, but 4 straight incompletions led to turnover on downs, and that was the capper for the game as Euclid went on to the victory. Now, a couple key stats in this game. Quarterback Noah Mitchell was 13 of 18 for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns for Euclid. Brunswick was really led with the running attack. Jacob Martin, 155 yards rushing, 82 yards receiving in this game. He had 3 touchdowns. And Josh for Brunswick Stocko.
Nice.
Thanks, Ed. 5 or 12 in this game, 123 yards and a touchdown. But yet, Euclid was just too much at the end of the game came away with a big conference victory. They stay, again, right close to the top. They are 4-1, right behind conference leading Solon in the standings. The next game pitted the Medina Bees against the Shaker Heights Red Raiders. Medina with a 50-18 victory over the Red Raiders. They improved to 7-1 on the season, 4-1 in the conference. Shaker drops to 5-3. They are 3-2 into the GCC. Now, of course, when Medina scores points, that means Jimmy Daw is doing his thing, and he did his thing in this game. He rushed 30 times for 224 yards, 5 touchdowns. I want to give props to the Medina County Gazette for his season totals. 1,027 rushing yards, 470 receiving yards, 28 total touchdowns. And he still has 2 more weeks in the season to go. So Jimmy Daw really leading the way for Medina. He did have some help in the running game, though. Dylan Fultz added 9 rushes for 78 yards as they went on to victory. Bright spot for Shaker was wide receiver McCall Hills. 11 receptions for 245 yards and a touchdown. Not much went right for Shaker, but he did good for them. Not enough, though, as once again Medina wins 50-18. And finally, the final game of the Friday night, Solon with a 46-28 victory over Elyria. Solon improves to a conference-leading 5-0. They are 7-1 overall. Elyria drops to 1-4 in the conference. They are 3-5 overall. Elyria, this is their 3rd straight loss in the conference. Kind of disappointing. This team had some thoughts about maybe making the playoffs. They're still not out of it. They are currently, according to Joe Itel, we'll get into that in a little bit. No spoilers. Solon in this game was led by quarterback Joe Bubonics. 16 of 26 for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns. His main target was Darryl Sinclair. 3 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. For Elyria, their quarterback, Dante Beckett, with a Terrell Pryor-type performance. He had 63 yards passing and a touchdown, 17 yards receiving, and get this for a quarterback, 38 rushing attempts for 126 yards and a touchdown. So a workmanlike effort for Dante Beckett. And that one, again, not enough as Solon goes on to the 46-28 victory in that game, and that wraps up the GCC for week number 8. Week number 9 looks like this. Menor will travel to Brunswick. Shaker Heights will travel to Solon. Strongsville heads to Elyria. And my spotlight game will head the Medina Bees as they travel to Euclid on this one. My MVP, now, of course, you can have Jimmy Daw in there. You can have Manning Trubisky. But you know what? I went with Shaker Heights wide receiver McCall Hills, 11 receptions, 245 yards, 1 touchdown. He did all he could in that game. That didn't go very well for him. Medina was just too tough. But he's still a great athlete that he has at Shaker Heights. So I'm going to give him the MVP this week. 245 yards receiving is really good. Now, as the playoff standings look like today, according to Joe Itel, again, none of these are official. These are just according to Joe Itel. But in Division 1, Region 1, it looks like this. Solon and Euclid are the playoff teams in Region 1, as Solon is number 4 in the region. Euclid is number 8. Menor, though, is right behind them at number 9. Shaker rounds out Region 1 at number 12. Region 2 has Medina as the only team currently in the playoffs, according to Joe Itel. They are number 4. Elyria sits at number 10, and Brunswick and Strongsville are 15 and 16, respectively. So, guys, kind of the top dogs kind of separating themselves in this one, as you see the usual suspects, Solon and Euclid are up there. Medina still keeping strong, coming off of a really tough loss against Menor last week. And Menor, as we talked about, trying to find their groove here towards the end. So things are going to get interesting the last 2 weeks in the GCC.
Yeah, I think if you want to make the playoffs in the GCC and you're, say with Menor, they're right there, but you have to win your last 2 games. I'm not sure exactly who they play, if they can, catapult into the 8th spot there just to get in.
Stand by.
But, I know they're pretty close. But now, end of the season, you almost have to win every single game if you want to get into the playoffs, because one little slip-up and you could be in trouble.
Well, Menor has 2, you can say, winnable games. Again, they travel to Brunswick and then they end
So
up
not a lot of points
at
there.
home against Elyria, which
See, now that game can give them some points that might, I think getting a win versus Brunswick, you might be able to get a few points, especially with Brunswick beating Highland. But, there's not a lot of points, I think, to be had there. Elyria might be a little different story, though.
Well, I think for Menor, what's going to be important is Medina. If Medina can win,
true. And
because they beat Medina, and their last two games are Euclid and Solon. So if Medina can beat those two teams,
true.
that's some points for Menor.
Well, that'll also help. That'll also help Menor out too, or with a win over Euclid, because Euclid is directly above Mentor.
That's
Yeah.
true.
As long as if Mentor does win out and Medina is able to take on Euclid this week, that's going to help them out that much more.
Right.
In
True.
addition to giving Medina's points, it's going to knock Euclid down a notch there. And with Euclid's last game of the season against Shaker Heights, it's a pretty solid game right there. So
Yeah.
I mean, they can pick up some points there. This is a very hotly contested division this year in our conference this year, and right now it's all on Solon. I mean, they're the only ones they don't have a conference loss right now,
Right.
and so they're the ones that really essentially control their own destiny. If Medina can get past Euclid and Solon picks up a victory, you have a winner take all for Week 10 for that Solon Medina game, and lots of points are on the board there.
Yeah, I feel like Solon has been absolutely dominant this year. You face a good Menor team, and, they dominated there. Up and down, though, like you said, they're undefeated. So, but, going through the standings and everything, some teams can lose, too, that can catapult Menor into the playoffs. So it just depends. You don't want to have to rely on teams to lose at this point. But like you said, that Menor win was absolutely huge, or Medina win. For Menor was huge because Menor has had such a good year, and that was a really close game. But they'll get some points off of that if Menor or Medina keeps winning.
For sure.
All right. Well, great job, Josh, with the Greater Cleveland Conference. What we're going to do now, we're going to step away, take a short break, and when we come back, we'll recap Week 8 in the Southwestern Conference and some great games. We had Avon Lake and Olmsted Falls come down to the wire, along with Berea Mid-Park and North Olmsted. They had a classic matchup that came down to the last throw. So some high-scoring affairs also with Westlake and North Ridgeville. So the scoring was pretty good in the Southwestern Conference. We'll go over that and much, much more. We'll get to the Suburban League coming up. We're Sports on Tap. It's our Ohio High School football coverage for Week 8 here. Live from Studio J in Brunswick. We'll be right back.